What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Beyond ARTV. My name is John, and it's time for another installment of The Think Tank, a series where I kind of think off the top of my head and riff on something in the entertainment or music world that's been weighing on my mind as of late. And today, that topic is, of course, related to music. You could probably guess by the title, maybe not. Maybe there's a sense of mystery there. But this was brought to my attention not only by a recent fan interaction that I had at Sonic Temple Music Festival, but just kind of this growing concern that I've seen with a lot of younger people. Those in fandoms, I think, are very susceptible to this. And to not beat around the bush anymore, what am I talking about? I'm talking about not having to love everything that your favorite band or artist releases to the world. Not everything is gold, not everything is sunshine and roses, and you don't have to force yourself to love everything that your favorite puts out. Now, obviously, there is also the line that says, well, if I genuinely do love this and it's very, very different, that's okay. But I've seen this sentiment and this feeling and this idea, and this was kind of confirmed by a fan interaction that I had. Now, I'm not going to put this fan on blast or anything. They are younger and obviously more impressionable, but essentially their argument to me in person was that, hey, you claim to like Fall Out Boy or even genuinely love some of their stuff. How do you not like Mania? And she kind of questioned my girlfriend, Hannah, who has the username Infinity on Hannah on YouTube. And she said, well, it's in your name. How do you not love Mania? How are you not head over heels just because it's Fall Out Boy? And that, of course, is where I step in and start to take issue. And I have to say that way of thinking, that mindset, it's very, very flawed, and it's also very concerning. I think that there is a difference between being critical of something and just being downright horrid and rude and maybe even crossing a line. And to some fans, I'm sure I've done that time and time again. That is me personally. That is how critical I guess I can be. But to even remotely be critical in the sense that you can think in that critical state of mind is to say, I'm not always okay and I'm not always immediately down for whatever this artist is doing. Obviously, it's not just Fall Out Boy, it could apply to the Beatles because there's records and there's songs of theirs that I don't like as much as others, and just because I love the Beatles, it doesn't mean that I outright love everything that they've ever done. In fact, to be a fan of a band, I think that you do have to think critically, because imagine having a friend that just constantly sucks up to you and tells you everything that you might on paper want to hear. In reality, that's not actually a good friend because they're only telling you certain things that make you maybe feel good about yourself, and then you never grow, you never learn, you never experience these mistakes and mishaps, and then do something better or achieve more in the future. I think this also applies to bands, solo artists, and really anyone in the world of entertainment or music, because we can all learn something, and you face either backlash or criticism for a reason. Now, with Fall Out Boy being a looming example, I kind of want to change the conversation there, so let's look at other bands like Bring Me the Horizon. Now, I did like a lot of what they did on their last record, but I know a lot of people were super critical of that. And to say that fans are not in the right to actually have a critical mindset, I think is flawed. And obviously there are those over-the-top ones that just want them to make the same album over and over again. But I also feel that it's justified for some, such as fans of Bring Me the Horizon, Ariana Grande, if you go back older to fans of Pink Floyd and more. Everybody is going to have their favorite moments, and then there's also going to be weaker links in the chain. Not everything can always be a gold link that you're tying together. Sometimes a band will go on an impressive run and have 3 or even 4 albums in a row that are really, 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 really good, but that is rare. It is rare to have an output that is consistently amazing, consistently top-notch. And I'm just kind of here maybe preaching to the choir for some, but for others who need to hear this, it's okay to be critical. It's okay, even if I, for example, heard my favorite band Green Day put out a song and I didn't like it. It would be okay. I would still be able to love the band and consider myself a huge fan if they put out something that I just thought was a total dud. And they haven't really done that for me personally, although I am pretty critical of the trilogy that they put out, especially Uno. Not exactly top tier stuff there. That's kind of a shining example that bleeds through into my mind here. But I think for others, if you just think about your favorite band, you probably have obvious favorites, and then you have those albums that maybe, especially if you're younger right now, you think about it and you really had to force yourself to love that single that was just so drastically different, something that really came out of left field and you weren't expecting it, and you on first listen were kind of gritting your teeth and you were like, I don't know how I feel about this, but then you log onto Twitter and you see everybody praising the track, all the stan accounts for maybe your favorite band or artist going crazy, and then you kind of twist your own logic to make it bend to fit that narrative, and that's not right. That is hurting you, that is hurting the band or the artist because you're not genuinely feeling that way. You're forcing yourself to say, well, maybe it's not their best song ever, but this is so amazing. I just hope they continue doing more like this and whatever they want to. And yes, the artist should do what they want to do, but they also should not bend over backwards to just keep doing all of this weird stuff because all they're getting is compliments. There have to be criticisms as well. I receive criticisms all the time on my channel, and that's totally fine. There's certainly things that I could improve, and I always try to work to, especially when it comes to presentation, editing, whatever else. But there's also when it comes to art, creating it, whether that be film, radio, making music, etc., etc. There's always kind of that line in the sand, and you have to sometimes cross over it and say, I'm not feeling this, I'm not on board with this. Or there's the other times where you obviously support and say, this is amazing, you guys are doing fantastic. There's always room for improvement, I think, but also there's room more so for constructive criticism. My rule of thumb is to say that constructive criticism is essential to art. If you do not have criticism, and especially constructive criticism, then I don't think things improve and get better. I mean, do you think that they just rolled out the first iPhone design and said, yep, that's it, no more features there, we don't need to add anything? No, it took years and years of tweaking, and sometimes that's what it takes to make a great album, or even a good one, or a great bombastic single. Things get better when you work at it, and the art of criticism is an art, and I think that it's underappreciated, and for the young fans especially watching out there, it's okay if you hear something and you don't like it, whether that be from 5 Seconds of Summer, Imagine Dragons, 21 Pilots, whatever it is. Don't be afraid to put your voice out there, and if people are giving you backlash just for speaking your mind and saying, I didn't really care for this, I think they can do better, then stay the hell away from that because you're in a toxic fandom, or else you're surrounded by some of the toxic fans. Stan culture in general can get very, very ugly very quickly, so be safe out there, guys. Also remember, do not take things that people say all that seriously, because at the end of the day, it boils down to opinions. Nobody's right. Nobody's wrong. It's an opinion, and an art piece can exist. A musical composition, it exists in order to be consumed and heard different ways. If everybody all agreed on everything, then how boring would that be? You would only need to watch one critic. You would only need to tune into one channel for anything, or one musician that you listen to if everything was all the same. That's the beauty. People have different tastes. People have different opinions. Don't be afraid to have yours. And if you don't like something from your favorite, then don't be afraid to say it, at least in some form. And you can be overly nice if you want to be about your criticism, but still, at least put it out there. I think I'm going to wrap up this episode of The Think Tank right there on that note. That's a good place to end things today. What do you think? Join the discussion in the comment section down below. I think that a lot of people might agree, but there's also going to be some that resist a bit and say, you know, it's okay if I love everything that they ever do. And yes, to an extent, but I don't really think that you're being fair and honest to yourself or the artist that you're loving or standing or whatever if you just always say that. You just can't say that everything is the best thing ever, and I think that certain communities are really bad about that. I know that the metal community, I think, is really okay with criticism. In fact, sometimes they're a little too over the top with it, and then you've got other communities like pop and hip-hop and rap where I feel like everything, they just say, this is the best thing ever, and they've constantly one-upped themselves, and I really don't think that's always the case. Like, for example, Damn by Kendrick Lamar, I don't think is better than To Pimp a Butterfly, but some people just think that the bar has to be raised each time, and sometimes an artist slips back down a rung. Not to say it's awful, but still, it happens. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Keep in mind that this is just my perspective, and I'd love to hear yours in the comment section down below. Drop a like on this video, and subscribe for the love of music. Hey, if you want to climb back up the ladder a little bit, then click the top link down below and help support the channel financially on Patreon. Thank you so much to my patrons Josh and 3RS that are currently supporting at the $50 per month level. If you want to see another Think Tank episode, then tap here or right here for another recent video. Socials in the description, and I'll see you soon for more on Beyond ARTV.